Hey, hi, SEO fans. So we're going to do a special video this week. I'm doing an interview with Rachel Jacobs from Ecommerce Partnerships. Rachel is an expert in helping agencies develop their own retainer models. Now, there's a lot of high clients. We've got a lot of agencies who want to move away from project-based models, hourly-based models, onto more retainer-based models. That's exactly what Rachel does for e-commerce agencies. So we're going to have a quick discussion about that, top tips, how to implement yourself, what to look out for, and hopefully we'll give you some real practical guidance on how to implement a similar solution yourself. So so welcome, Rachel. Do you want to give a quick intro into kind of where you're at and how you got here?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Andy. As you know, I used to run a Shopify Plus agency in London for a number of years. My background is in marketing, specifically around content, email, and sort of growth marketing, but more on the strategic side. So I'd done that for years. So I'd say the guts of 10 years, and then came into an e-commerce agency, and it was a build and design agency, very typical for a lot of e-commerce and Shopify agencies, build and design. And I came on board kind of thinking about, well, what happens after you launch a project? Like, that's when the real sexy stuff happens. Mm-hmm. But most agencies are so focused project. And my mindset was like marketing and growth and all the fun stuff. So then through default, ended up building a retainer model out for the agency I was in, and moving then the clients over from ad hoc work, which is the bane of every agency's life, into more of a retainer model. And once it took about 3 months to build that retainer model out. And once I'd actually done that, it was a game changer. It changed the entire mindset of the agency from sales, from project delivery, from scoping. Everything in the agency really changed. Profitability, moving away from time and materials into value-based. So once I'd done that, I then realized I had a bit of a business model, and then set up my own business then. And I knew quite a few agencies because we were based in London, and I knew a few agencies in and around London, in and around the UK, and then started working with a couple of agencies then to help them move away from that famine and feast kind of mindset, move away from being focused on projects. Projects are a nightmare because they're so unprofitable, scope creep. It's very difficult if you haven't scoped it out properly to keep the wheels on throughout the project, keep it on time and under budget. Yeah. And then by the time you get to the end of the project, you're screwed anyway. And then the client hates you and they don't want to be on a retainer and it's game over. So what I do now is I come in agencies that are basically fed up with projects and time and materials and having to cross all the T's and dot the I's. I come in, implement retainer models, scalable retainer models. And in most cases, to be honest, a lot of the agencies I work with are a design and build agency. So they're not necessarily growth marketing agency either. But that doesn't mean that there aren't elements of marketing that you can't build in as part of your retainer. CRO is a huge part of digital marketing, but it's also, most of that falls down on design and build. So building retainer models and then implementing scalable systems around the delivery process, the onboarding process, the sales process. So you just streamline everything and move the agency owner out of the day-to-day of the business and move them away from being a bottleneck into being a visionary and actually in the agency.
Yeah, okay, cool. So it's for them to provide additional services. And how difficult is this for agencies to do? So if I was like an agency owner right now and I'm thinking, oh, this all sounds good, but how difficult is it to implement something like this?
A retainer model?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to sound like an asshole because I'm going to say it's not that difficult. Of course I'm going to sound like but the reality is all the agencies I work with, I'll give you an example of one agency I work with. We started working together and within 6 weeks, they closed $45,000 on retainer. They're an agency of 5 people, so $45K a month is a phenomenal amount for a small team. Another agency, within 1 week, they closed $20K worth of retainer. Now, when I started working with them, they were like, this is never going to work. It's never going to happen. We're a design and build agency. Mm-hmm. So the simple answer to your question, it's not difficult. But unfortunately, the biggest learning for me is the fact it's mindset. It's a mindset thing. It's a confidence thing. And I think that's why it's easier for somebody like me from the outside looking in. We're only 5 minutes into this, and I think it's really clear I'm not shy. As we say in Ireland,
I can confirm Rachel is not shy.
I'm not shy. My husband calls me a pirate, and rightly so. I'm not backwards and coming forwards. And I think that that's what makes the difference. Somebody like me who's confident that it works And I've proven it time and time again with my agencies. And a lot of agency owners or people running agencies are so kind of like blinkered, like, you know, horses with the blinkers on. They're so caught up with clients who are beating their ass every day because they're complaining about stuff that sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. So whilst it's easy to do, for me, it's perhaps not as easy for people who are in the midst of the problem to kind of see a way around it. Obviously, the way I work with agencies, it's very sort of step by step. You do this first, and then when you've done that, we do this, and then when you do that, we do this. And then before you realize you're 3 or 4 weeks down the line and you're closing retainers. So it happens quite quickly, but it is easy to do, but I think it's not easy to get yourself into that mindset. I think that's probably the biggest challenge.
So where do they start then? What's a good place to start? Is it to look at
next to working with me?
Next to it, I'm
only one person, so I'm not spread that easily. Yeah, I think the first place to start actually is, which is kind of where we've crossed over. One of the first places to start is have a look at some of the work that you're either getting asked to do that you're not fulfilling. SEO is a massive, and I'm not saying that just because we're doing this together. SEO is a massive one, and SEO is a massive one that most of my Shopify, I also work with Magento and other agencies, but Shopify is, you know, easy for me to do because I run a plus agency. But SEO is a massive thing that most agencies don't even go near. They don't want to touch it because they don't have an SEO expert. So generally speaking, what they do when it comes to SEO is they implement the tasks on the back of an SEO auditor report from somebody else. But SEO is a massive thing that a lot of e-commerce brands don't have a clue about and want help with, and agencies are very nervous about implementing. Email marketing is essential. If anybody's running, anybody, you know, worth their weight as an agency, if you're not doing any form of email marketing, then you're leaving money on the table for yourself as an agency and also for the brand. But I think to really look at the metrics, look at the data. What is the data telling you from if you could go through the analytics of the client's, you know, dashboard? Where are the growth opportunities? Where are they, how are they matching up in terms of industry average? At the very least, if you don't really know what to expect in terms of, you know, you haven't worked on all this stuff with clients, then maybe you don't have kind of benchmarks for the agency. But at the very least, you can look at industry average and say, okay, email marketing is between 25 and 40% is what the expected profitability of an email marketing campaign. So out of your 100%, 25% at least should come from email. If you're looking at your brand and you're just like, well, they're only doing 3% of their monthly profits are from email, then they're leaving 22% on the table, and then just do the reverse engineer the number and then be like, well, you're leaving 200K on the table a year.
That's clever. So you just check, you almost like just, okay, where are they getting their sales and traffic from? Like doing some analysis into that and going, okay,
where's the conversion funnel broken?
Right below. Yeah.
So just benchmark it. So have a look at that. Obviously it comes down to the data. That's how you're creating retainers. But ultimately, what you need to do is just figure out what are clients asking you for that you're not delivering, and what sort of tasks are you doing over and over again, and how do you take all that information and present it into an offering.
Yeah. So one of the big things that when we spoke before is you are very much a fan of using third parties and using software and tools rather than hiring internally. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you want to talk more about kind of how that would work?
Yeah, well, I love technology. You know, I can't even count properly, so calculator's my best friend. I get up to 10 and get confused. So, you know, I love technology. I came from the startup world, you know, the SaaS world, and did the whole Silicon Valley thing. So for me, I really appreciate technology. I really appreciate AI. The thing is, numbers never lie. When it comes to technologies, they very rarely make mistakes. They're not always perfect, but they rarely make mistakes. And then with people, there's a learning element, and there's, you know, your perception, my perception, especially when it comes to data, how you're interpreting data. And the reality is, a lot of agencies that actually work with me, they're kind of in a situation where it's like, if we don't turn this ship around, we're fucked.
Okay.
And that's where a lot of agencies, in many cases, especially in the Shopify world, because there's so much volume. So in many cases, it's a race to the bottom, especially for agencies who are not niching themselves. They're kind of like, oh, we're an e-commerce agency. We can help anybody who sells anything online ever. Yeah,
they're not differentiating themselves, are they, at all?
So not niching down.
They could easily lose a customer going to someone else if another agency or a competitor can provide more or provide a more unique
or at a cheaper price.
Yeah, or a cheaper price, right? Because
So anybody who's not niching down, and like I said, I'm a content marketer by trade. That was my bread and butter for many years. Positioning yourself, niching yourself down as an agency, that's the best thing that you can ever do as an agency, even though it's the scariest.
doesn't that conflict though a little bit with adding like additional services? How do you keep your niche without, because people think, oh, if I go niche, I'm going to go for one particular service, I'm going to do just that, rather than...
But the brands all need the same shit, right? Yeah. They all need the same service, but it's just basically, if you're an agency and you really enjoy working with, cosmetic brands, or, I don't know, let's say cosmetic brands, because I'm not that creative, so I can't think of anything beyond that. But let's say cosmetic brands, but you've worked really, really well with big cosmetic brands. They still all need the same service. They still need help with their CRO. They still need help with their, on-page, on-site optimization, their site speed, their PPC, their SEO. They still need all that help. But it just means that when a cosmetic brand is looking for an agency, they will be able to find you and say, well, these guys specialize in what my problem is. In addition to that, I think as well, by you niching down, it allows you to better understand the problem of your customer, because ultimately that's what it's all about as an e-commerce agency. It's not about if a client comes to you and says, I want a redesign of my website. It's not really about the redesign of the website. It's really understanding what's the problem. And then the more a proper agency will do a proper discovery, ideally paid. I'm a big fan of paid discovery. So do a proper discovery process and say, well, actually your problem is not redesigning your website. Your problem is the fact that your mobile traffic is increasing, but your conversion rate is decreasing. So rather than taking a 10 or 15 or 20K budget to do a redesign of your website, give me that budget and let's spread it out over 3 months. So let's say it's 15K, 5K a month, and let's do a mobile optimization project. Because then you're actually fixing their problem. Now, there is going to be elements of, a bit of a facelift on the website and a bit of, UX and tweaking and a bit of design and a bit of dev and a bit of digital. But you're actually getting to the root of what their problem is. And you've also got them on a 3-month retainer. You've also got them comfortable with paying you 5K a month. So if you can dazzle them and you start their metrics and let's just say their conversion rates for mobile are 0.3%, and after the 3 months they're over 1%, they can see that you've proved your worth. So then after those 3 months to be able to turn around to them and say, actually, do you know what else we can do? We can do all these amazing, wonderful things. And who are you using for this and what are you doing for that? Oh, I'm trying to do that myself in-house. Well, we're experts, so let us take care of it. And they'll keep paying 5K a month. So you've taken a 15K budget and then whatever that is times 12. 60K.
Good one.
Yeah, thanks. I practiced that one earlier. But you basically got 60K out of a 15K budget. Yeah,
that's massive. That's absolutely huge. And what it means then is that then you can go to all of your other clients with the confidence and with these additional services and products and provide a better service for them. And your stickiness and your retention is going to go up. I'm guessing that's something that you see, or your agencies that you work with.
Oh, massively. Ultimately, this is, my business is called Ecommerce Partnerships. At the heart of everything I do is all about partnerships. The relationship we have is about partnerships. The relationship that I have with my agency clients is a partnership. I'm invested in their success, and what I preach to the agencies that I work with, even the ones that I don't work with, and I speak to, Jesus, I must have spoken to at least 100 agencies in the last 3 months. Now I'm speaking to agencies every day, and I always say to them, you need to position yourself as an advisor, like an extension of their team, a strategic partner for their business. They take care of product and you take care of e-commerce. And I think actually you touched on a really important point, which is something that's been playing over in my mind for the last month or so. It's the confidence. It's so interesting for me having this business and doing what I do. I've got enough confidence for about 20 men, so that's not, I don't have any issue with that. But I think for some of the things that I didn't anticipate when it came to doing the work that I do is there's so many agencies, some of the agencies I work with, and they're the best in their area for what they do, and they just don't have that confidence. And for me, I think somebody like me coming in and being like, okay, I don't give a shit whether you're not confident or not. What you're doing is amazing. Your team can deliver. The results are all there. So let's, not waste time procrastinating and not to waste time second guessing yourself. And let's just do it. Let's just get it done. And then we can deal with all the emotional stuff afterwards. Not with me, obviously.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. It's just getting stuck in trying it. So with that in mind, then, what's a few of the different kind of services that you're helping your clients operate? You touched upon email, SEO. Do you want to give maybe a couple of examples?
Yeah, well, email marketing, I mean, obviously that's got a huge part to do with things like average order value, lifetime value, stuff like that. So, building retainer models around specific types of requirements. Most customers, let's just say the agency I was in, subscription was a huge business for us. We worked with a lot of subscription brands that were selling products on a subscription basis.
Okay.
So for us, for those customers, a huge metric or a huge pain point for them was the stickiness of the customer, that increasing that average order value and lifetime value.
Yeah.
So there was many elements within AOV and LTV. That's like, where do you start? But email massively comes into that, because if you're on a subscription model business and they're paying $20 a month for X%, you still want to be able to upsell and cross sell within that, 20 quid. So they're then paying more money on a monthly basis, and they're moving up. And then obviously lifetime value, you don't want customers to get to the end of a 3 or 6 or 12 month and not feel like they valued anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the likes of email marketing, for example, would come in, or SEO or PPC or CRO. But really what it should be is a sort of e-commerce agencies are doing this anyway. It's a 360 kind of holistic overview of your entire e-commerce business and how is everything linking in together. And also from my point of view, like I touched on earlier, it's the technologies. Like, how are you using your different technology partners to build that e-commerce journey for a customer? So for me, email marketing, Klaviyo that's always going to be my go-to solution for e-commerce. Yeah, that's going to be my go-to. So how are you using Klaviyo? And if you're a subscription business, does that integrate well with the likes of Recharge, which is a subscription solution for subscriptions on Shopify? How are those two solutions connecting and talking to each other? And then what does the journey look like? Ultimately, what does the journey look like for the customer?
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Now, there's a few of your clients are using Hike and using SEO. There's a little
of course. Of course. Smooth, really smooth, Andy. Nobody noticed.
Nobody noticed. Yeah, strange that, isn't it? So do you want to give an example, maybe how a couple of your customers kind of have dealt with that, starting to implement SEO, maybe some of the initial thoughts they had, what were their challenges, why maybe they resisted it, and how they're getting on now?
Well, it's a good question. Most of the agencies that I'm working with, most of them, to be honest, I've introduced to Hike because I understand the technology, and I know, having a technology like Hike, again, this sounds like a shameless plug, but it's genuine. Whether we were doing this or not, it wouldn't make a difference. I say this to all my clients. It's an amazing bit of kit. And I think for a lot of agencies, it's the nervousness of being like, well, I don't really know SEO. And for me, I'm just like, you do not need to be an expert in this. Perhaps in many cases, they're not in a position where they can afford a 20, 30K salary for an SEO expert to come in, or 2K minimum monthly retainer for an SEO consultant to come in and do audits, which is all very fluffy work, which you still have to implement. So perhaps they're not financially buoyant, but they have the clients that are asking them for SEO help or asking them for suggestions around SEO. And for me, I'm just like, could you not just use the solution like Hike SEO to bolster your offering and say, okay, let's just say, for example, 2K a month, monthly retainer, and it's going to be mostly reporting and interpretation of analytics. It's going to interpret your data and then make recommendations, some of which can be done in-house and some of which the agency can do. But using a tool like Hike, they can basically automate a list of SEO tactics that need to be done, and then present that to the client, and the client's going to look at that and be like, fuck me, that's like, that looks like loads and loads and loads of work. I'll just let you guys do it. It's paying, we're paying you $2,000, $3,000 a month, and you're doing all that stuff for us, and you're doing a bit of this, and you're doing a bit of that. That's a result. As long as you can show on a monthly basis that you're moving the needle in the right direction, even it's just small increments, but as long as you can show that and you're communicating, being really clear about what metrics it is that you're trying to improve, and then always keeping that as your North Star, then it's a win-win, because you don't want to be like, oh, we're focused on your conversion rate, and then 3 months later be like, I know we've really improved your SEO data, and they're like, we don't really give a shit about SEO. We wanted our e-commerce conversion rate improved. So as long as just keeping your eye on the prize. But a lot of my agencies that I work with, they have the same thing. They were like, all our clients ask us for SEO. We don't have a clue about SEO. We're a design and build agency. We don't really know what to do. We don't even know how to hire somebody for SEO. In many cases, they've actually worked with SEO consultants and they've had their, fingers burnt. So they were just sort of a bit like, we're not going to do it. We're not going to get involved in SEO. And I'm like, but you're turning away good money. Like, if you want to have a retainer with a client, you need to be, I don't believe in a full service agency. I think that's bullshit. I don't think that's a real thing. But there is certain tasks, like PPC is one that I probably wouldn't play with if you don't know anything about it. Trying to kind of, fudge PPC. It's very sort of, it's either it's worked instant, or it really hasn't.
A lot of money very, very quickly.
Yeah, you can't kind of cowboy or amateur PPC. You either need to know what you're doing or don't touch it. There's no solutions really there for PPC like Hike is. But for Hike, it, having a tool where it just goes through the full list, and that's obviously why we were in contact, because I had pushed a couple of clients. I knew about Hike and I pushed a couple of clients on there, and then obviously we started talking. So was that did I answer? Did I say it properly?
Checks in the post, right?
Did I say Hike enough times? Just for Google to pick up. Hike.
Cool. All right. Well, I think this has been great. I guess the confidence is a really interesting thing. I think we should probably just finish off on this. What's the tip for how do you help them to get the confidence, especially these agency owners, who are going, I'm toying around with this, but I just don't know. Have you got like one final tip, one bit of advice you give people just to
just fucking do it?
Yeah.
just do it. Well, yeah, I mean, that's it. And I think a lot of my clients will say to me, they've got a healthy fear of Rachel. Because they know, they just think about it. Like, they speak to clients like, oh, okay, we'll do that extra work. In the back of their mind, they've got my voice saying, don't give away any more free work. If that client is not going to commit to you, don't give them anything for free. They're paying for everything that you're giving them. And I think so many agencies are just at the beck and call of their clients and trying so hard to kind of bend themselves, bend over backwards to try and facilitate and appease the client all the time. Maybe 50-50, of course, some of it is on the agency's fault, where the agency doesn't have the right processes in place. So projects are, underscoped. You haven't a lot of the right time allowance, so you're going and asking them for more money. So in many cases, agencies are setting themselves up for a failure at the very start, but then they're constantly on the back foot all the time trying to appease the client because you don't want to lose them. And that's a very unhealthy relationship to have. So for me, what I say to agencies is, most agencies are in the child seat at the back, strapped in, and the client is then fifth gear going mental.
Tell them what to do.
And really
the wrong route, right?
Going in circles, going all over the place, and the agency just is sitting there kind of, moving stuff around, trying to keep the wheels on. And the strategy that I have is completely the opposite. Get the client in the baby seat, strap them in, and get in the driver's seat, and have a very proactive, really lead from the front. It's more of an aggressive approach, but I'm telling you, clients love it. They don't have a clue. They don't have a clue about e-commerce.
No, and do you know what? I've been both agency side and client side. Previous to Hike SEO, and you realize when you're client side that what you're looking for from an agency is someone to help you come up with new ideas, someone to bounce a sounding board, someone that's an expert that can come to you, let's try this. It's not always about being like right first time, or or nailing that project the first time. That first email you might do might not work. That first SEO strategy, you might need to tweak it, but that's fine as long as you're being proactive, because essentially they have limited resource, right? They're going to have a limited team. They're not going to have all the ideas in the world. They need someone to act, as you say, as an extension for their team. And if you can get into that mindset, it just makes the whole relationship so much better as well. And that means that you can much more easily introduce these additional products, which are on a more retainer basis, rather than just say, your website build and then that's it. There you go.
There's 18, 24 months before a client comes back to you, or a couple of $100 a month for a few tweaks here and there. Like, how do you scale your resources as an agency? How do you hire the right people? How do you have projected cash flow? For me, I mean, what I would say as a tip, actually, if you're an agency that doesn't know what your next 3 months looks like in terms of projects, or you're an agency that doesn't know what your next three to 6 months look like in terms of cash flow, you need to start implementing retainers. You need to have a retainer model, and the retainer models need to be not time and material. Like, a lot of people are selling retainers, but they're selling, 20 hours or 30 hours a month. That's bullshit, because that's not proactive. That's 100% the client coming to you and saying, I want this, this, and this. And there may be a few recommendations from the agency side, but not really. In many cases, it is quite a passive approach to a retainer. And it means that the agency, then somebody else comes on who's a bit shinier and a bit more exciting and a bit more, a bit more to offer. And they'll be like, well, it's the same money, but they're leading. And really your goal as an agency is to push the client into their product, because they know their product really well, and they know their customer, they know their brand. And your goal is to bring all the e-commerce expertise that you have, the wealth of knowledge that you have with your team, all the brands you've worked with. And the final thing I would say, which I think is a big eye-opener for all the agencies I speak to, for me, it's when the penny drops, is it's a bit sickening when you think about it, but the reality is, the better you get as an agency, when you're charging time and materials, whether it's on projects or retainer, the better your agency gets, the better your team become, the less profitable your agency becomes. So if you have a task which is building, a subscription, semi-customized subscription website, let's say, and it takes 150 hours to do the first time, the next time you do it, you've automated some of it, maybe it's 130. After doing it 10 times, it's going to take you 75 hours to do it. You're only getting paid 75 hours for being twice as quick and 10 times more effective and being experts. So for an agency, you'd rather hire a bunch of dummies who don't have a clue what they're doing and be way more profitable. Hire juniors who are, you're paying them, £2.50 an hour or whatever it is, and then just make loads of profit off their back, and then make loads of mistakes and just have a lot of volume. And for me, that's the biggest takeaway. It's just like, why would you penalize your team for becoming better and better and better at what they do? Now, that is specifically for people who niche down. The more you niche, the more expertise your team has, which means you should and can charge a premium. Rather than penalizing them for charging just the hours. And some of the biggest agencies I've spoken to and worked with, they all make the same mistake. They just add, an extra 20 quid on top of the hourly rate because the guy is more of an expert, but he's still doing it half the time than anybody else would. So you're not making as much profit as what you should be, and you should have the confidence to charge a premium. Be like, we're the best of the best in the area that we specialize in. If you want to work with us, this is what it's going to cost, and it's on our terms. And that immediately positions you as being in the driver's seat, and the client then is in the passenger seat and taken from your lead. Yeah.
No, again, key there's confidence, isn't it? I think that's a real overarching thing. Well, I think that's been some genius bits of advice there.
Well, I wouldn't get too carried away now.
Okay, fairly decent bits of advice there.
Yes, above average.
How can people find you if they wanna maybe?
Website ecommercepartnerships.com, or drop me an email, rachel@ecommercepartnerships.com. When it comes to working with clients, I'm pretty slammed until the end of Q1, which is a nice position to be in, but it's definitely something that I encourage all my agencies should be in. But at the very, very least, I have slots put aside 2 days during the week. I've got 2 afternoons put aside to speak to agencies, just for a 30-minute free consultation. Whether we work together or not, it doesn't really matter. I think it's just having a sanity check. Let's not get too carried away. But a bit of a sanity check. Yeah, no, that's an oxymoron. Get a bit of a sanity check for people. Sometimes I think it's just hearing it from the outside. Most agencies know all this stuff anyway, but I think it's just that sort of Stockholm syndrome, that you're stuck in your own bubble and you second guess yourself. Analysis paralysis, that's what they call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jesus, I sounded semi like I knew what I was talking about there, didn't I?
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. And thanks everyone for watching. If you have any questions, get in contact with Rachel, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.